Hi, Brooke. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Savannah?
I'm good. Excited to jump on our Friday Five today. We have a great topic to talk about.
It's a fun one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I actually was spending a little bit of time before this call today going through our blog and happened upon something that you wrote back in 2017. And I felt like when I was reading through it, just because it caught my eye, it was something that still applies today. I still see our clients do it. I still see nonprofits do it. And that's the difference between throwing a party and a fundraising event. So I was hoping you could talk to us a little bit about why you wrote it, what that difference is, and what it means for the nonprofits.
Sure. Yeah, that was funny that you brought that up today. That's an oldie but a goodie, and it is: Are you throwing a party or a fundraiser? And that is because events are so much work. And I think at that point at Swell and in this career, I had just seen a lot of events, and there was a real difference to me between the two. And so really wanted to isolate the signs because I think everybody was calling the same thing a fundraising event. And so the fundraising luncheon that was raising hundreds of $1,000s versus the Shamrock Shindig or the Cajun Cook-Off or the beer tasting is also a nonprofit fundraiser. And all fundraisers aren't created equal. And then that people would wonder, why am I not raising as much money as the luncheon fundraiser is? And so anyway, some of the signs, and there are a lot of reasons why I think nonprofits do this and throw a party instead of a fundraiser. And I think that's a lot of times because we talked about this already, they'll email and say, I need an event idea. And you start with the idea. And that's not really what drives the fundraising is the beer tasting and all. So that's a party. And are people willing to pay you to go to that party? Sure. But you're in the party business. You're not a fundraiser. So some of the signs and some of the things that we see all the time that you see, that's why it hit you so hard, that are signs that you're throwing a party and not a fundraiser. And the first one and the most glaring is that if you aren't focused on data collection. Fundraising events are a great way to expand your reach and expand the net, but it only does that if you collect names and email addresses. So if you aren't focused on getting names and email addresses and just selling tickets, then you're probably throwing a party. The next one, which is kind of interesting to me and goes to a topic we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is if you talk about your tickets in terms of the value. So, for example, if you say for $35 you get two drinks, a great dinner, and you're like selling it, then there's a value exchange, and people think they've paid you for what they're getting, and they don't owe you anything. And so that's where the Benavon model comes in that so many nonprofits use, where there isn't a paid ticket because they don't want to even establish that idea of this is a party and you have compensated us for it. The third is not measuring the awareness created by the event at all. That means you're not even about the cause. And there are a lot of events where people go to that event and don't even realize what nonprofit it benefited. And that is a party for sure. And one of my real sore spots with events is ticket fees. And I think when someone has to pay for their ticket to your event, like they do for a concert or for something else, they feel like a consumer. And so, again, that's a party, not a fundraiser. And then when you sideline the donations to your cause. In fact, I was just saying, I think I might add on to this because I think, which goes to this sidelining donations, when you don't just ask your audience and talk about your mission and raise funds. But one sign that you're throwing a party is when you have to come up with all these gimmicks to raise money, like a wine pool and the throwing the dart at the balloon or the restaurant gift card tree. And over time, one of those turns into 5 of those as you're trying to increase your revenue.
Right.
And that's a party because you're essentially, it's like an arcade. So you're entertaining them. And so anyway, I could go, it's just, are you entertaining or are you fundraising?
Yeah, no, and you're right. We still see it. And you're right. It hit home with me because just last week, that very first thing on your list was lost with one of our clients. And they were trying to figure out how they can get people in the door as quickly as possible when they're paying for their ticket And they wanted to do that by excluding them having to put their information in, just swiping their card and walking in the door. But I had to sit there with them and talk through the fact that they wouldn't be getting anything out of that. Like, yes, it will save your guest 5 seconds. They will be in the door quicker, but it won't get you anything. You're not going to get any of their information to reach out to them after the event's over or in the future when you have other events and fundraisers. And so you have to think about, what is it that you need to achieve when you are fundraising? And that is one of those things. So, and as soon as I told them, they were like, you're right. That's super important. So it is just getting lost in showing up and having that entertainment aspect and losing that fundraising portion of your event.
And to go back to the thing is, and our clients, the development directors of these nonprofits, work so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is already really hard.
Right.
And so if the event isn't delivering, and it's all this work, all those gimmicks I mentioned are work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're really working harder.
Right.
I just hate to see it, because the job is hard enough without throwing a party.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you heard it here first, nonprofits. Try to distinguish between the two. Get that fundraiser done right so that you guys can succeed and reach your goals.
Fun topic. Thanks for bringing it up.
Thanks, Brooke. Everyone have a great Friday.
Bye.
Bye.